Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Academy of Cheese webinar. Tonight, we are with the Milking Goat Association members for their Appreciation Week, and we're going to learn all about that this evening. Please, can you put any questions you have in the chat? But before that, we would love you to put where you're joining us from, wherever in the British Isles, in the around the world. That would be amazing if you could just put that in the chat for us and we can say hello. Glasgow, hello. Belfast, fantastic. We're going around the Isles here. I'll tell you a few things about the Academy. Hello, Olivia in the Cotswolds, Iceland, hardcore, love it. So we've got Fast and Furious coming up, Afternoon of the Year on June the 3rd. We are selling tickets if people want to come and join us for the finals. It's shaping up to be an incredible event. St Mary's in Marylebone is the new venue this year, 1 p.m. till 7 p.m. The results will be about between 5 and 6 p.m. So it is a drop-in event, so if you can get there between then. Going back to virtuals, we've got another webinar on the 10th of June around Father's Day about cheese and cheers. So pairing cheeses with drinks with the lovely Noemi from Savencia. And then going back to the real classroom courses, we've got a level 2 class in Sparkenhoe Farm on 30th of June and 1st of July. That's a 2-day course, and that's experiencing cheese making, maturing and affinage, and milk production, which leads me very, very nicely into introducing our first guest, who is with the goats. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to spotlight Gary Yeomans is from the Milking Goat Association, and he is chairman. Welcome, Gary, and welcome to all your goats.
Thank you very much. So I'm in Abergavenny in South Wales. It's a beautiful evening here. So we've literally just finished milking the girls behind us. So they're just browsing around. A couple of them are using the back structure. I think there's a bit of a queue for that. It's literally on the go 24/7. And then the rest of them are just having a light supper here behind me.
And how many goats have you got, Gary?
So we've got about 800 altogether, and we milk about 580 at the moment. Have gone through the parlour tonight. So we're just coming towards the end of kidding. So we've just got a few goats left to kid.
Wow. That's amazing. That's a lot of goats. So presumably not by hand you're milking them.
No, definitely not by hand. So we've got a milking machine. We milk 40 goats at a time. It takes about 3 hours to milk them all. So we milk them twice a day. We milk at sort of 5:30 in the morning and about 3:45 in the afternoon is generally what we do.
That's amazing. So 6 hours a day is milking the goats. That's incredible. And Toby, who's on our panel tonight, is asking what breeds have you got there?
So predominantly Sarnans, which are the white goats you can see behind me, and then we got the black and white ones. They're British Alpines, and then we've got some French Alpines and crossed with Toggenburgs. The reason we use the other breeds is they improve the fat and protein of the milk compared to the Sarnan, which is your sort of standard milking goat. Because all our milk goes just 5 miles down the road to the Abergavenny Creamery, where it's made into soft goat's cheese, which you'll see in a log in most supermarkets, either labelled as Abergavenny or as Welsh soft goat's cheese.
Yeah, superb cheese as well. It's just absolutely delicious and so fresh. If for somebody who's just starting out and trying goat's cheese, it's a really good one to start with, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really mild and creamy, and it's a really quick process. It's almost like curd, really. It's just one step on from curd. So it's a ideal, like you say, a starter cheese, or for people that aren't used to such the sort of stronger, more artisan type cheeses that you'll taste later.
Fantastic. Okay, Gary, do you want to shuffle on off up to your up to your house so you can talk to us a bit more later about about the cheese and about the association.
Yeah, thanks very much. See you later.
Lovely to see those goats. Just beautiful, aren't they? Okay, so we've got Toby with us tonight. Hi, Toby, how you doing?
Hi Tracy, I'm
Oh,
very well,
he's
thank
moved.
you. How are
He's
you?
moved. Good, good, good.
No,
So,
can you hear me?
yes, I can hear
Yeah.
you. I'm going to spotlight you for everyone. So,
Oh, that's
Toby,
scary.
tell
Yes.
us, what is this all about? What is
So
Goat's Milk Appreciation Week?
this week is Goat's Milk Appreciation Week. Started on Monday, runs to Sunday, and we set this up at the Milk and Goat Association to help promote goat's cheese at a really good time of the year in May, when new season goat's cheese is coming into the shops, but also help promote goat's milk in general to consumers to enjoy. So we're doing lots of different activities. We're doing a webinar tonight with you. We've been liaising with lots of cheesemongers and fine food shops to get goat's milk products promoted. And throughout the week, we are promoting goat's milk over our Instagram account, which is I Love Goats. Let me just check I've got the address right, because I always forget it. Bear with me 1 second. So,
and I think you're culminating.
Sorry,
oh, sorry, go on.
So the Instagram address is Love Goats Milk. You're going to ask me a question, Tracy.
Love Goat's Milk. Perfect. Yeah. And not this week. No, end of this week. You're going to be...
end of this week. It culminates with, we're going to be at the HQ at the Chiswick Cheese Market in West London. And in fact, Roger is going to be guesting at the HQ, doing some tastings of some of his cheeses, but also goat's milk products. So we'll have milk and yogurt on taste as well. And then the whole market, we've been working with the team in the market, which has been brilliant. And they're going to bring goat's milk products to the fore, mainly goat's cheese, because obviously it's a cheese market, but then there are lots of other food items people can buy. So if you are in the area on Sunday, the Chiswick Cheese Market's on Chiswick High Road, in the centre of Chiswick, and it runs from 9:30 till 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and so that is this Sunday, the 18th of May.
Sunday, the 18th of May, yeah.
Fantastic.
But in the meantime, hopefully, when you go into your local cheesemonger or food shop, there'll be some brilliant goat's milk products to try.
It's the Instagram post, its stream at the moment is flowing with so many different goat's milk cheeses, which is...
We've had a lot of support, which is really lovely.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, well, brilliant. A great thing to set up. And the more awareness of how delicious goat's milk cheese is, the better. And just incredible to hear from Gary that, you know, wow, that many goats and it takes that long to milk them. So it's a fine art.
And they're great animals. They're great fun.
Yeah. Thanks, Toby. So we're going to go over to Rachel, who's been on a very, very big journey recently. Hello, Rachel.
Hi there.
From Norton and Yarrow.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
You started cheese making in Oxfordshire.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And have moved to Carmarthenshire.
Yes, we have. Yeah. Yeah. This time last year we were, completely in Oxfordshire. And then since September, really, we've been in the process of moving the farm up to Carmarthenshire. And now we're making cheese again. We've been making cheese for just over a month now in Carmarthenshire again. So yeah, we've got all our goats up here, children up here, everything.
So you don't leave the children behind then and just bought the goats. Fantastic. Yeah. Do you want to tell us a bit about that story? What's the reason to go to Wales? Are you going to share share a few pictures?
That work okay?
That works perfectly. We can see you.
So yeah, I'm Rachel Yarrow. Fraser and I make Cinedin Hill and Brightwell Ash, which is that picture there on the screen. I think you've got Cinedin in your box. So our story started with a chance reading of an article in that very issue of Woman and Home magazine about somebody who was a cheesemaker and had goats, which turned into a joke about what we should leave our jobs, which turned into a serious conversation, which turned into a business plan. We came back from this holiday where we'd come across this article, I hasten to add, it wasn't my copy of Women and Home. It was one that someone else had left behind in the villa we were staying in. Then we Googled, how do you become a cheesemaker, basically. Then we started making cheese at home. That was the first cheese we ever made, that horrible looking and horrible tasting little white rubbery thing. And then, we decided to carry on being cheesemakers, and we got a tenancy on a farm in Oxfordshire, owned by a charity called Earth Trust, later that year. So that was back in 2015 that we got the tenancy, and we started making cheese in early 2016. So this was our old farm in Oxfordshire. So it was owned by Earth Trust. We had about 6 acres on our grazing license, and then we also had a tenancy on sort of a selection of old farm buildings. And in what we had to, it wasn't set up to be a dairy, so everything was sort of fitted. We fitted in ourselves. So we had a milking parlour with 12 places. So it was taking us actually not that different time to Gary to milk so we were milking about 150 by the time we left, and that took us, close to 3 hours as well. So it was really time for an upgrade. And we'd sort of outgrown it. We wanted to be growing the herd more, grazing the goats more. It was a tenancy that was designed for startup farmers. Our original business plan had included 100 milking goats and sort of 20 young stock, and on the day we moved we had 241 goats, so it was time for a change. And we sort of knew for a little while that we would need to move on, and we were getting to the point, as I said, when we needed to upgrade the parlour. So we'd been looking at various farms all around the country, but then something which had a bit of a ring of fate about it happened, and it was last March, I think. It was actually when I was in Brazil for my the start of my Nuffield scholarship. My dad messaged to say that he had heard that a farm called Pencreag, where when he was in his 20s, had farmed. So he'd been working for another family, but he'd been farming there. And my oldest brother was born there. So these are sort of old family photos. He'd heard that it was going to be coming up for sale due to sort of death in the family. And he said he thought it would be perfect for what Fraser and I were looking for. So we thought, better go have a look. And by that point, we'd seen quite a lot of places that weren't right, and this just felt really right. So we decided to go for it and agreed a sale. And here we are, our new farm. That photo is Gabriel and Dorothea, our children, on the day that we picked up the keys. So yeah, we've traded Oxfordshire, the rolling hills of Oxfordshire. Well, actually, we're on a very flat bit next to the Thames, for the edge of the Brecon Beacons. That's the Black Mountain in the background. So it's quite different, although it's actually the same latitude as Oxfordshire, so not as wild. So yeah,
it looks stunning. It looks absolutely stunning.
Oh yeah, it's a really beautiful spot. So we had quite a lot of work to do though, and it's like moving house, but sort of times 500 or perhaps even more. So we had a barn, which was good. It was a good start, but it needed to be completely changed in order to house goats rather than sheep, and so we changed it around, put in a feed passage for the goats. The milking parlour we had to build within the barn as well. So on the left hand side there, you've got starting to dig the pit for the parlour. Then it got all lined out, at which point we thought maybe it'd be better as a swimming pool than a milking parlour, and maybe we should forget the goats altogether. Then the stalling went in. And then last of all, that's how we're using it now. So it's got 36 places rather than the 12 that we had before. So we can milk all our goats in about an hour now, rather than, up to 3 hours as it was taking us before. So that's really good. Moving the goats. So we took all of our goats with us, which was quite a challenge. I said there was 241 of them. And there was also, I don't know if you've heard of blue tongue, but there's a disease which affects ruminants, cows, sheep and goats. And our farm in Oxfordshire went into the restricted zone about a month before we were due to move them, which meant that at the time they didn't allow any animals to be moved from our farm into Wales. And we had to basically beg the Welsh government to make an exception. And that photo on the left is us blood testing every single one of our 241 goats in order to check they were clear, so we could get permission to move them within a 7-day window. So it was quite a stressful moment. And we had to load them all onto a lorry, which then had to drive to meet another bigger lorry that couldn't get down to our farm, with 2 decks on it, and then off it went down the M4. Also had to move our cheese, so we'd always known that our tenancy was quite was going to end at some point. So we had designed our cheese making rooms to be moved, so they were in shipping containers. And that is, as you can see, what happened. We had a bit of problems unloading at this end, so we ended up having to have this ginormous crane coming to offload them. But anyway, we got them offloaded, and then everything else as well. So that was our old house in Oxford. So you can see it's quite different. Obviously we had to do the house move, and then, oh my goodness, moving a farm, we were totally underestimated. We just accumulate so much stuff so we were there just under 10 years. So yeah, telehandler, I think Fraser took 5, he went back and forth with the Luton van 5 times, like just moving hurdles and
oh my
all sorts of
word
stuff. So yeah, it was
would you do it again?
I mean, it's a bit like, would you have children again, isn't it?
Again,
like,
yeah. Not
I'm
yet.
glad we've done it.
Not yet. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think, I wouldn't, not anytime soon, let's put it that way. And then we had to basically go through the whole process of setting up again. So we had to have a bit of a break in production, and we had to have, so all the goats were dry, so they weren't milking when we moved them, because we didn't have a milking parlour ready at the farm. So then we've now had to have, they've all had to kid again in order to be in milk. And we've done a bit of rebranding as well now that we're in Wales. So we're sort of trying to give the cheese some branding to reflect its sort of Welsh identity as well as its roots in Oxfordshire. And we've had to do
I love the brand. I love the house. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, we've had to do everything like re-registering with the environmental health, getting new delivery routes sorted out, like everything has been like starting again from scratch. Well, not entirely from scratch, but yeah, there's a lot of resetting up to do.
And how are you finding the the actual cheese? How long has that taken you to get it to where you're happy again? Because obviously it's the same milk, isn't it? Because
it is the same milk,
goats.
Yeah, and it's all the same goats, to be honest, at the moment. It's all the same that we had before. So yeah, to be honest, that has been not too bad. The main thing has been around, teething problems. So we had 3 shipping containers in Oxfordshire, so we had 2 make rooms, 2 maturing rooms, and we could only move 2 of them because we couldn't configure a space to put them down. And our longer term plan is actually to build a more permanent set of cheese making rooms, but it was too much to try and do that at the same time as moving everything else. So we've gone back to having 2 shipping containers, which is what we started with, but it's so we've lost a maturing room, which means that we used to have a drier and a more humid maturing room, which was quite useful for kind of controlling the rind development. So I'd say most of the stuff has been around getting used to being in that smaller space again. And yeah, sort of how to control the the aging process, really. But yeah, no, we're pretty, I mean, it's definitely, they're very recognizably Brightwell Ash and Cinedin, and yeah, we're pretty happy with how they're tasting, and
fantastic.
Yeah, that hasn't been where most of the sort of that probably hasn't been the hardest bit. We know how to make cheese. Yeah.
And we've got a question from Rachel who's saying, we're going back to when you moved to the farm, what are the housing requirements for goats rather than sheep? What are the differences? Probably just trying to keep the goats from leaping out.
Yeah, that is one of the main things. Yeah, I mean, partly this barn was put up in 1982 or something, so quite a lot of the stuff that was in there was sort of at the end of its life anyway, and probably wouldn't have been brilliant for keeping sheep in either. But yeah, it's to do with the height of barriers needs to be a bit higher for goats. They're taller, they're better at climbing and jumping. They just had, I mean, they were only really using it for lambing and actually hadn't used it for probably a decade or something. So they didn't have a concrete floor, which makes it very hard to muck out. So we needed to pour a concrete floor. And the ventilation actually was pretty good anyway. So yeah, and then the feed space, basically. So when they're housed, you want them to have plenty of space to access the hay, because especially when they're milking, there's they need to eat a lot to sort of support that the active lactation. So yeah, we want to make sure they've got enough room to be able to access plenty of hay without competition.
Okay, brilliant, thank you.
But going back to that as well, actually, another big teething problem, which we're only really starting on, is that it is a sheep farm. It was fenced as a sheep farm. A lot of the fencing is like 40 years old. And goats are taller, they jump, they stand on fences in order to reach hedgerows. And we've had quite a lot of escapes. My Monday morning involved, I saw a hole in a fence as I was driving back from dropping the kids off at school, and then went back to the farm to sort of get some stuff to try and patch it up. By the time I was back, there was like cars and vans parked and like a man running up the road with my billy goats going, "Are these your goats?" And oh my God, I wanted to die. It was awful. So yeah.
So you're investing in better fencing.
Yeah, but it's not cheap. So yeah,
no.
So it's time consuming to do. So yeah, that's a bit of a challenge. And yeah, things like we hadn't so we keep our kids with their mums till they're about 8 weeks old. And we hadn't really thought about where the kids, when we'd done the like barrier spacing, we'd been thinking about goats being able to eat hay rather than kids being able to not escape. So the kids like went everywhere. And that was all right when they're little, but then they get to a really destructive phase, and then they were like, yeah. Anyway, so we spent quite a lot of time adjusting.
It'd be like having a lot of children.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And they don't even like watching telly, so you haven't even got that.
No escape.
Yeah.
Our new milking parlour
is, so yeah, that's had some teething problems associated as well. It's working well now, but it's a rapid exit one, which means that all the stalls like lift up, so the goats then can kind of walk out. But that's the theory anyway. The goats haven't necessarily got the memo about going out quickly, and they like to stand around and see if any more food's coming and that kind of thing. So that's been a bit of a process as well. But it is nice. So yeah, I was going to say a bit about our goats. So that's I realized that I'd taken a photo that was in almost exactly the same spot as that photo of my dad from the 1970s. So I was amused by the fact that it was there. But these are our young goats. So a bit similar to Gary, really. We've got quite a mixture of breeds now. We started off with Anglo-Nubians, which are meant to be known as sort of the Jersey cow of the goats, and have high milk solids. But we've been increasingly breeding away from that, because we're breeding now more for sort of, production, I suppose, as in we want them to be reliable, we want them to be healthy, we want them to be able to do well and milk on a high forage diet and high grass. So we've got a mixture of Toggenburg, French Alpine, and a bit of Saanen, crossed with some Anglo-Nubian still. Try and keep the milk solids. But yeah, we're focusing on that sort of healthy, robust goat that can live outside and sort of do well in the British climate, basically, and produce cheese milk.
Fantastic.
There's some more goats. Yeah, so you can see the sort of mixture. So the white ones are the Saanen crosses, and then the kind of badger faces, the Toggenburg crosses.
And have you noticed, are they enjoying it? They've enjoyed the change. You haven't noticed any difference in volumes of milk they're producing there?
No,
we've got happy.
We've got some of the best volumes we've had so far. Yeah. I mean, it hasn't. I don't suppose they particularly enjoyed the journey, but actually they were pretty much, once they were off the transporter, they were pretty much back to eating hay and sitting with their friends, which is what they do. So I'd say they seem to have settled really well here.
They look very healthy and very happy.
Yeah, we've had this like weird Mediterranean weather as well since we moved.
I know,
Wales, which is a bit unnerving. Yeah, we're expecting a bit more rain. So yeah, we're back to cheese making in the containers, so you can see them there. Longer term plan is to put another building alongside the shed around the corner from where the containers are now. I think people imagine shipping containers are going to be quite rough and ready inside, but actually they're pretty, smart, hygienic. Their environmental health has given us a 5-star rating, so well done. We're happy with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how much more you want. I can go through some sort of the steps of cheese making, but we might be. I'm not sure how we're doing for time. Do you want me to go on to sort of
I think it'd be really nice
tasting.
to talk about the tasting of the cheese, because lots of people who've joined the webinar have had the boxes sent to
Yeah.
them. They purchased the boxes with the cheese, and in that, so tell us about the two cheeses you make. So you've got
Brightwell Ash and Cinedin Hill. So
yeah,
they're pretty simple. They're both lactic cheeses. So that's the sort of the French style, I suppose you'd say, of long,
yeah,
slow acidification. So I can just whiz through these actually. So it's all at kind of room temperature,
yeah,
22 degrees. So we start and make start one today, for example. It acidifies overnight, drops down to 4.6. And then we drain it. So Brightwell Ash we do by direct ladling. So we sort of scoop the curd into molds. Cinedin Hill, it gets bag drained. So it goes through these sort of glorified pillowcases. And then the whey sort of drains off. So by day 3, so like we start today, this will be happening on Friday. For Cinedin Hill, we add the salt by hand, and then we put it into the pyramid molds. Brightwell Ash, we roll it in a sort of salt and ash mixture on day 3, and then then it's about maturing really and rind development. So the next couple of days is the sort of the start of the yeast on the rind growing, and that's where a lot of the flavour comes from. Awards,
awards, yes,
yeah.
yes, please tell us about. Look at this long list of so considering you've been only making cheese not that long, 2016 did you say you set up?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, that's when we sold our first cheese.
Yeah, so 10 years ish.
Yeah,
a little gap. And look at all these awards. Congratulations. So tell us about, so we've got World Cheese Awards. Whoa, top 16. That's a big one.
Probably the best one. We did that in 2022 and 2023. In 2024, the British cheese didn't get to the World Cheese Awards because of some customs-related failure. So who knows how it would have done? Probably not top 16 again. But anyway,
24, yeah. So what cheese was this? Was it this Cinedin Hill or
that was Cinedin? Yeah. And it also got the best British cheese and best artisan cheese and World Cheese Awards in those years. Another one that was very special to us was winning the Patrons Award for the Specialist Cheese Association. So that's one that's sort of done by the members, by cheesemakers, I suppose, nominated
by other cheesemakers. Vote. Yeah.
And we won that one in 2023 and 2024, which was a bit of a shock. Yeah, I mean, we take all these things with a pinch of salt, obviously. But it's nice when you do get some success. So tasting, so people have cheese in front of them. And they might do.
Yes,
some people might do.
Lots of people do. People have been commenting that they absolutely love Cinedin Hill in the comments. So yeah.
Oh, that's very nice to hear. So this is kind of meant to show, I suppose, that a Cinedin Hill can be lots of different things. And it can ripen in different ways depending on the sort of conditions, and different cheesemongers quite often have a sort of house style of how they like to do it. So whether you've had it sort of direct from us or whether it's come via, Neal's Yard, Paxton Whitfield, La Fromagerie, Buchanan's, they'll probably all have a slightly different way of aging it, and it can be quite have a sort of drier aging where you get more peppery kind of notes, or it can be that sort of riper, what you might think of as more French, I suppose, a bit more like how a sort of camembert or something breaks down. But I think the ones that you'll be tasting will be fairly young, maybe like 2 weeks old. And so the sort of flavour profile I would expect you to be finding is still probably quite yogurty. The younger the cheese is, the more you get that kind of yogurty flavour and citrusy. And then it tends to get more kind of nutty, fudgy, I suppose you might say, as it gets older. What else is there to say about it?
Well, we've got a couple of questions, so shall I ask you those while we think about it? I mean, you're making my mouth water anyway. Thanks. I think you've answered Claire's question, which is, do you mature all your cheese, or will some mongers mature them on themselves? You've already answered that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I think with Affaner of the Year competition coming up, to me, it's very interesting from the cheesemaker's point of view as to how cheesemongers then take your cheese and mature it. Without naming any names, are you okay with that? Are you, as a cheese maker, you quite like that? Or if you saw something or tasted a style that they'd created that you didn't like, is that something you can control? Or once you've just made an agreement with them that's what they do? Because I think could be quite hard from a customer service point of view, especially when
most of the specialist shops who are doing it are doing a good job, and there are different styles, different ways that people like to do it. But I kind of think that's it's a bit of a collaboration, isn't it? Yeah, like you make the cheese, they age it. I think sometimes more of the issues might be where in sort of smaller shops that aren't cheese specialists, where they buy it wrapped, but perhaps they're keeping it on a sort of an open counter, but the temperature's fluctuating a bit during the day. Perhaps it's not, and then you can sometimes see, if it's there for a couple of weeks, it can get very overripe, which then I'm a bit like, but I wouldn't say it's a massive issue. That's most.
No, but it must be quite.
Great job.
Yeah, and it must be quite interesting to see what they do with your cheese and how it changes.
We once had somebody in France aged one for a year, and sent us a photo of that. It looked a bit sort of like
brown,
very brown,
very dark brown. Yeah.
Apparently it was nice, but I don't know, it would have been to my taste. But yeah.
The Italians like that, don't they? There's a whole stall of those in the cheese festival at Bra in Italy, and it's just like, what are those?
Yeah.
Okay, then some more technical questions. What from Anonymous? What milking equipment company do you recommend? Did you get it new or second hand? It looked new to me.
Yeah, that parlour is new. It's from Delaval, who do a lot of we went to France last year as part of my Nuffield, and we saw a lot of milking setups on farms there, and Delaval's very popular with sort of small ruminant, so sheep and goat dairy. So I do think they're good. Yes. You can get, if you can wait a bit and you're a bit more flexible, then you can definitely, there are good deals to be had secondhand. If you've got a good local dairy engineer, then that's a good, I might stop sharing actually, and that's a good place to ask, just to ask, keep your ear to the ground, or if you're in something like if you're a member of the Milk and Goat Association or even the British Goat Society, you can ask them to send an email around if you're looking for secondhand equipment. Our first parlour was a mixture of new and secondhand, and definitely is a good way.
The SCA as well, the Specialist Cheesemakers Association, they have a notice board, don't they, for things for sale and equipment for sale and jobs and all of that. So presumably that you can do the same with the Milk and Goat Association. And then Claire is asking, any plans for a new cheese?
Yep, we do have. Yep. So we really need to have the bigger, more permanent cheese rooms to do that. But we're about to start developing a new cheese, which will be, we're going to work on a sort of Tome de Pyrénées recipe. So it's a sort of semi-hard washed rind cheese. So we're going to be working with the Food Centre Wales, which is about an hour from here. So they've got a sort of more of a range of fats and maturing spaces. So yeah, we're going to start that sort of early June. We're booked in to go and have our first trial
experimenting. So they're really good, aren't they? We know of a lot of cheesemakers that have been using that facility.
Yeah, they're great.
Wow, are we getting the first knowledge of that then?
I don't know.
Is this an exclusive on the webinar?
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then David is asking, how much cheese do you produce per year?
About 17 tons has been typical.
Okay, brilliant.
In terms of weight, yeah. So that's about processing sort of 100 to 120,000 litres. Varies quite a lot by time of year, but
hardcore. Well, I think that's been a fantastic summary, and congratulations on the move and still having a happy family. Those little smiling faces are amazing, and happy goats, and cheese is back in production, which is phenomenal. So brilliant. Thank you ever so much for joining
No
us
worries. Thank you for
tonight.
asking me.
No, great. Right. Who am I going to next? Roger, you're up. Let me get you spotlighted. There you go. Right, I'd like to introduce Roger Longman. Everybody knows Roger, who knows about goat's cheese. He's the man that makes too many cheeses, but they're all delicious. All delicious. Roger, your White Lake cheese in Somerset, a stone's throw from Glastonbury. And thank you for joining tonight. You're hardcore. How many goats have you got? Because that seems the typical question tonight.
Typical question. So we have, I think we're milking about 550 at the moment, but we're just about to start kidding, and that'll be another 150 coming into the herd. So yeah,
fantastic.
enough to keep me busy.
Yes, very busy. Blimey. And tonight we've got in the box that people have received, there's Rachel.
Yep.
Shilling and
That's
Eve.
Rachel.
Oh, we've got some Rachel to show. Brilliant.
That's Shilling.
Shilling.
And that's Eve.
Good old Eve. Eve is an absolute cracker, and I know very little about Shilling, so maybe do you want to start with Shilling? Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so Shilling is one of our lactic styles of cheese, similar sort of technique to Rachel's Synod Hill, which is an amazing cheese. Shilling is probably a little bit younger and fresher than Synod Hill at this stage, but the one of the main differences is Shilling uses a sort of standard vegetable rennet that is based on mushrooms, and Synod Hill uses cardoon, which is made from thistles. So you get some really interesting flavours with the Synod Hill, which is quite amazing. So they're really good cheeses at this stage to taste together and see the difference that they both have, largely due to the rennet at this stage. If you can resist eating your Shilling for about a month, keep it in the fridge. It will go mouldy, which is lovely. And then you can grate it straight onto your pasta or salads. So it becomes quite a hard cheese. I've had one sat in the fridge for about 6 months because I forgot it was at the back. But it's lovely.
Will that go? Does that go? Is it go like a crottin? Will it go wrinkly rind, or will it just go mouldy?
So it's Tracy. It's almost like you know what you're talking about. It is exactly that. It is a crottin style cheese.
Okay.
Because we got asked by a customer to make it. And when we made it, we thought, oh, that looks like a coin. So that's what we called it, Shilling.
Nice.
And yeah, and it's lovely fresh. It's lovely sort of a couple of weeks down the road, and it's even better if you can keep it for 4 to 6 weeks and get it nice and hard and grate it onto things. So it's a very versatile cheese. Sometimes people worry that they've bought too much cheese. There's no such thing as too much cheese. You just have to age it differently. So the other
age it differently, or eat it.
Or eat it. The other thing we've got is Rachel, which is our most popular cheese. It's our sort of first cheese we ever made 25 years ago. Wow, 25 years ago.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Is it 25? No, 21. Sorry, 2004. Yeah, so 21 years ago.
I was going to say, I remember it.
Yeah, I started milking goats 25 years ago. So yeah, and that's an amazing cheese. We always call that the gateway drug into the goat's cheese world, because a lot of people think they won't like goat's cheese, and that has tremendous flavours but no sort of goaty punch to it. And another interesting thing for those who haven't managed to eat theirs yet is it melts like a raclette. So you can slice it, put it on a bit of foil, put it under the grill, pour it onto new potatoes. So that's a really good tip.
You're making me really hungry now, and it's goat's milk cheese can have a lot of sweet flavours, can't it?
Yeah.
And Rachel has got
sweet and nutty
caramel.
And yeah, definitely a lot of that. So well, the other question with the Rachel is, what do you do with the rind? Well, I personally eat the rind. But if you don't want to eat the rind, the rind is really good to put in soups. But it's also really good to pay the cheese tax for your dog with. Dogs love, rather than chocolate, cheese rinds, absolutely perfect for dogs. Our dog, which is called Brie, won't go to bed unless she gets a bit of cheese first. So the rind is
that's
a
why
much
she's
cheaper,
called Brie.
much cheaper way of paying the cheese tax.
And Rachel can get some quite yellow molds growing on it.
You can get some really it's almost sulfurous like mold on it. I personally don't like it, but a lot of people love it. So yeah, it's a sign of a well-aged cheese, is what the French will say. But I prefer to have a very small amount on there, not too much. I don't personally. I would normally eat the rind, but if there's a lot of yellow, I don't eat the rind. So
no. Okay.
But visually, it looks fantastic. It doesn't quite glow in the dark, although it looks like it might. And the third cheese we've got is the Eve.
Oh, Eve, yes.
The Eves we sent out are very young. They're only a couple of weeks old. So if you can resist people, leave it for a couple of weeks. Let it just soften and mature a bit, and you'll get a lot more flavour out of it. It's lovely as it is, but it does benefit from a couple more weeks maturing.
Yeah. And tell us about what it's wrapped in, because it's
it's
Eve quite unique, isn't it?
It is. Eve is a basically a goat brie that we wash in Somerset cider brandy, and that reduces the thickness of the rind, because a lot of people worry about eating the rind on sort of brie style cheeses. But if you don't have a rind on a cheese, as it ripens, it sort of starts running away from you. So by wrapping it in a vine leaf, that gives it enough structure to hold it together as it ripens inside. So yeah.
And are those vine leaves soaked in anything before? No, they're just vine leaves.
They're not. No, they're just bizarrely come from America. We have several local vineyards near us, and we have tried their vine leaves, but they're too thick and woody. And I'm assuming it's a particular variety of vine that is grown for an edible leaf rather than a grape, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And okay. That's fantastic. So, what about awards? Have any of these cheeses won awards?
We used to win lots of awards. Rachel's won lots of awards. Shilling won best goat's cheese at the British Cheese Awards this year, which was really nice.
Wow,
and Eva's won some prizes for. The main reason I don't win prizes anymore is Rachel keeps winning them all, because she makes some amazing cheese. So I love a bit of competition, but she just needs to back off a little bit. Let me win some more for a while, I think.
Rachel, he's telling you. He's absolutely having a go there.
Yes.
Competition between the artisan cheesemakers. I love it.
Well, it's friendly competition, I think, isn't it?
It is very friendly competition, and that is one of the beauties of the cheese world. Although in theory, we should all be competitors and be competing with each other for business. It is a wonderful, caring, sharing industry. Farming is generally, but cheese making even more so. So it's a great world to be in.
Yeah. So you've entered the Artisan Cheese Awards tomorrow then, Roger?
We've entered lots of cheese for the Artisan Cheese Awards, so we better win something. Yeah, and we've got
how many cheeses are you making
some other
now?
new cheese. Well, I don't know. We just bring. It was 35, but it might be creeping up to 40 now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is, but I love it. We've got some new blue cheeses coming out at the moment, so I'm really excited about those. So,
any goat's milk blues?
Yeah, Kingfisher Blue.
Wow.
It's absolutely spectacular. So if you're in London and you're a trade customer, if you come along to the Freemasons house tomorrow.
Tomorrow is Meet the Maker, yes.
Meet the Maker Day. We're there. Lots of other cheesemakers are there. But also, as Toby mentioned, Chiswick Market on Sunday. We will be there tasting Driftwood and Kingfisher Blue, which will be available to buy on our stall as well. So yeah, if you get there, you'll be one of the first people to buy Kingfisher Blue, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. Really pleased with it.
So I'm sorry, this is news to me. So, and you still haven't sent me any. What is Kingfisher Blue? Is it soft blue or?
It's a Roquefort style blue. Yeah, so it's soft, it's creamy, it's sweet. I've even got
Roquefort's made with sheep's milk. So is this made
Roquefort's made with sheep's milk. This is a Roquefort style, but made with goats.
goats?
So
Okay.
lots of blue, but not overpowering blue like a Stilton, if that makes sense. And that lovely sweetness you get from a goat's cheese.
Can you bring some to Afternoon of the Year for us to try, please?
Oh, we'll be bringing some to Afternoon, don't worry.
Fantastic. What
We've got
size
lots of
format
stuff.
is it?
I'm going to need a bigger table at Afternoon of the Year, obviously.
Tristram's yes, you are. We maybe sort that for you. Tristram is asking, can you tell us a bit more about the event at Freemason Hall? I can tell you about that. It's a trade event for customers of Harvey and Brockless, or potential customers of Harvey and Brockless. So if you are in the trade, you can email them tonight. Have a look on their website or on their Instagram, Harvey and Brockless, and they will sort you out to come. But you do need to be a trade customer.
Yeah.
Toby's asking, how long will you mature the Kingfisher for?
So we're maturing it for 2 months at the moment. And we've tasted it at 4 months and it's still lovely. It does get stronger. So it's sort of 3.5 months, it's really starting to get quite pokey and peppery and blue. And if that's the sort of cheese you like, you need to just hold on to it. The beautiful thing with a blue cheese is it does keep really, really well, as long as you keep it wrapped in foil or in the backpack bag.
In your foil, not in general foil, because general foil is not good for cheese.
Yeah.
You learn that on our courses, you know, Roger.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else? Have we got any more? When will Kingfisher be at the Martook market with Russell?
I think he took some this weekend. He sold out pretty quickly. So yeah,
get there early,
get there early.
Get there early. Roger, you're an absolute legend. You always are. Thank you for joining us on this tonight. We're going to stay with us because there might be more questions for you. And we're going to go to, where are we going now? To Gary. Gary's got someone on, extra people. Hello, extra person.
That's my daughter,
Roger.
Megan. So.
Hello, Megan.
Hello.
Are you taking over from Dad?
Maybe.
Yeah.
She's got A-level starting the day after tomorrow, so she should be revising, but she likes goat's cheese, so she's joined in for the tasting.
Oh, for the tasting. Are you going to start, what you're doing? Are you going to come into the cheese world? Please do. Or milk world, shall I say?
Maybe. I'll see how my A-levels go first and then decide from there.
She does milk for me, but I have to pay her to do the milking, and she owes me about 10 milkings so far.
Brilliant. That's true daddy love. He'll cut that in half. 5 milkings. So your milk, Gary and Megan, goes to Abergavenny Prime Foods. You told us a little bit about that before.
Yeah, that's it for their soft goat's cheese. I don't think that's in the pack tonight, so
no,
it's quite mild.
Fresh cheese.
Yeah, mild, fresh, curdy cheese. So yeah, Megan's favourite was the driftwood so far, but I think
Roger's winning.
You're going to go to Toby now, aren't you, to do the Delamere spreadable?
Yeah, we'll go to Toby. Is there anything else you wanted to say about goat's milk while we're here? I mean, do you supply goat's milk presumably for bottling or for cartons?
Well, no, mine all goes for cheese as well, but a lot of our members would supply for whole milk for either St Helens, Delamere, or Waitrose, or supermarket own branded milk, and they'd also do kefir, yogurt, butter, all those other type of products as well, all sorts of dairy products. So don't just think of goat's milk as being just for cheese. And there's also the infant formula, which is really good because goat's milk's got smaller fat globules, so it's easier to digest. So for babies with allergies and things like that, I think the infant formula can be really good for them.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's great. Oh, lots of and is it becoming more popular? Is there a growth in the market, or is it leveled out?
Yeah, I think there's a growth in the market. I mean, similar to Roger, we've been milking coming up for 25 years, but when we started, it was really niche, and it's become it's on the most menus as sometimes a starter, a vegetarian option, and on a cheese board. So the cheese has become more popular, and we've noticed recently the goat meat has really taken off. Whereas
that's good.
When we first started milking, it was a real struggle to find a home for the billy kids, but now there's loads of people after them because goat meat has become very popular.
Excellent. We've got a question from David. Are you making goat's butter? Is anybody making? He's tasting St. Helens with their goat's cheese. Does anybody here make goat's butter? I don't think, Roger, you don't, do you?
It's on my list of things to do.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah, St. Helen, both St. Helens and Delamere do really good goat butter. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Fantastic. Well, thank you. I'm going to go over to Toby then. I think that's all on the questions for you. And Toby, tell us about the cheese you've got tonight.
So the cheese that was in the pack, if you are enjoying the pack this evening on the call, is the spreadable goat's cheese from Delamere, who are a producer, a company based up in Knutsford in Cheshire. And this spreadable goat's cheese is actually a new improved recipe which they developed and brought out in 2021. And it's also an award winner. So it's picked up Best Soft Cheese in Show and Champion Modern British Cheese and the International Cheese and Dairy Awards. It's made with British goat's milk. It has a lovely natural acidity with a clean and fresh flavour. It's wonderfully soft. It has a really nice spreadable texture. It's also vegetarian. Was suitable for vegetarians. So it spreads straight from the fridge. And it's great on crackers with a glass of very dry white wine, because I've done that before.
Were you looking over over your shoulder to see if that glass of white wine was coming towards you?
It's not yet. I'm trying to behave. But it's very, very good on crackers. It's just a slightly different cheese to enjoy, actually. But it's also quite versatile because you can use it in baking and cooking. It's really lovely stirred into warm pasta, and a really nice combination is to use it with smoked salmon, either in a sort of light salad or as a start. And actually, thinking forward to Christmas, it's really good on a cracker with a bit of smoked salmon, a glass of fizz, whatever style of fizz you enjoy, English, European, whatever. It's a really nice Christmas drink accompaniment with a glass of fizz.
I think it's always amazing how people you do those canapes with the spreadable goat's cheese and the softer, very fresh curd goat's cheeses, and they have no idea it's goat's milk, do they?
It's funny. I think
what this is goat's milk.
Yeah,
cheese.
I don't know whether it was Gary or Roger or Rachel who mentioned earlier that a lot of people have the funny thing about goat's cheese in their mind, but actually the wonderful thing about British goat's cheese is that there are so many varieties, so many different wonderful flavors, and often people say it's a bit too goaty. I mean, obviously, what do people mean by that? But there are so many flavors that you can really enjoy. And actually, what I love, I personally love goat's cheese, always have done. But you can actually create a whole cheese board, as you know, Tracy, using a whole variety of different cheeses, from fresh, really herd style cheeses, all the way now to blue. I mean, Roger's created Kingfisher Blue. There are other blue goat's cheeses on the market from UK makers. So you can literally go into your cheesemonger or to the cheese counter in hopefully your local supermarket and get a whole range to enjoy.
You're putting us to the challenge, I feel.
Absolutely.
Create a totally goat's cheese board this weekend.
There you go.
Might do it.
But just getting back to Delamere, just to say the packaging actually is recyclable. which is an important thing for most consumers these days. And in terms of availability, you can get it in most of the major supermarkets, Boots, it's in Ocado online. The other thing about Delamere is that they don't just create the cheese. They've got the spreadable cheese. They do a hard cheese, which is delicious as well. They do milk, they do yogurt, they do a whole range of things. If you want to find out more about them, the website is delameredairy.co.uk, and they're one of the larger producers of goat's milk products in the UK, along with St Helens. And someone mentioned about the butter from Delamere and St Helens. Really, really good to use in cooking and in baking as well.
Yeah, and somebody's asking, Anonymous is asking, where is the spreadable stocked? But I think you said it's in most supermarkets. So it's in Boots and Ocado.
And Ocado online.
Excuse me.
So
okay,
if you don't have a Boots near you, look.
I mean, they are one of the big boys, aren't they, Delamere?
Yeah, they are one of the bigger
producers,
goat's milk producers and food producers of goat's milk products. So they pretty much are in most major supermarkets.
Cool, well, that's brilliant, thank you. And I think it's interesting you've said about the vegetarian rennet. Roger, are you using vegetarian rennet on all of your cheeses now, or?
Yeah, all of our cheeses are now vegetarian. We used to do animal rennet for Catherine, but we can't. The sort of small volume we were using, they've changed the small volume the volumes we could buy. We could only buy it in 5 litres instead of 1 litre, and we were going to throw 90% of it away. So we've adjusted the recipe slightly to cope with a normal vegetarian with the vegetarian rennet, and I challenge anyone to taste the difference, to be honest.
That's good. And is any of the goat's cheese people that we've got on tonight, or Toby, you know of as part of the association, are they exporting goat's cheese yet? Or I know, Roger, you were before Brexit, weren't you?
We used to before Brexit.
And Trump's tariffs.
And hopefully our glorious leader will sort out, a bit of a trade deal with Europe so that we can do that again shortly. So we will see.
Cool.
Roger, I actually have a question about that. Sorry, Tracy. Where's the most sort of surprising location you export to?
Norway.
Okay. Why'd you say that?
Norway loves a lot of goat's cheese.
Okay.
I think Rachel, have you been to Norway?
Rachel, do you export any of your cheeses? Presumably maybe through Neal's Yard Dairy.
Yeah, we don't do any export ourselves, but yeah, some people like Neal's Yard and Fine Cheese do export of our cheese. And yes, Roger, we went to Norway last year. That was really interesting. They've got quite a tradition of goat farming and cheese making. They've got a similar number of dairy goats to the number that we've got here in the UK, but they've got a human population of 5 million, whereas we've got 70 million or whatever. So yeah, it's really interesting. And there's some great cheese they make out there.
Yeah, they're getting even better. Their resurgence has been quite recent, hasn't it?
Yeah.
For artisan cheese making. So fantastic, brilliant. Okay, I think we've got someone, Katie. Hi, Katie is saying, do you sell any of the goat's cheese to anyone in Northern Ireland? Anybody selling to Northern Ireland?
We used to sell to M&S in Northern Ireland. I don't know if Sheridan's buy our cheese. I suspect they might buy some of Rachel's.
Some Rachel's. Possibly. Oh, some of this Rachel's or your Rachel cheese. I'm getting all confused.
Not my Rachel. Rachel Yarrow.
I was thinking they're buying your Rachel, but you're saying Rachel might.
I don't know. We don't sell direct to anyone in Northern Ireland. So it's going through somebody else.
Sorry, Katie. I'm sure Roger and Rachel probably ship to Northern Ireland. It's just
we can. Yeah, we just have to put on the label, I think, not for sale in the EU or something.
Yeah. Let me just check the Q&A.
Yeah, there's an interesting question there, Tracy, which actually having 3 people involved with goat's milk on the call would be interesting to see what their answers are. The question is, what does goat's milk taste like?
Tastes like milk.
Say the same. If it's fresh, I mean, you would struggle to tell the difference between cow's milk and goat's milk. I'd say it's very clean. If it's fresh and well produced, then it's very clean tasting. I think a lot of people that have got sort of bad associations, it's often when they've the milk hasn't been particularly cleanly handled, or it's a bit old, or there can be certain breed features, but yeah, it's not. I don't know. I mean, even sometimes people tasting our cheeses don't necessarily identify them as goat's cheeses unless you tell them they're goat's cheeses. And I think sometimes it's a bit psychological, if that's not the wrong word.
Do you only have goat's milk in your house?
Yeah.
Or
no, we have
cows as well.
Cows, yeah.
So I grew up on a dairy farm, milking cows and making cheddar. And I always had quite a phlegmy throat in the morning. Since I started milking goats and drinking goat's milk, I don't have that. So I obviously had a very light allergy to cow's milk, and lots of people will say, goat's milk has less allergy issues than cow's milk, but it all depends on what your allergy is.
Yeah.
And I find often people will say, "Oh, they don't like goat's milk." And you're making tea or coffee, and they say it's not goat's milk, is it? I said, no, it's not goat's milk. Can you put it in goat's milk? Give it to them, and they don't tell the difference. Because as Roger said, it's
you guys are quite
right.
sneaky,
I can see why you're not in
you?
sales, Gary.
I don't know. I think he'd do quite well in sales. That's brilliant. And lots of people have been tasting the cheeses with various wines. We've got loads of wine recommendations in the chat tonight. So thank you for everybody that's joined us for all those wine. I'm going to go and find a glass of wine in a minute. So I think we're good. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Toby, other than, this is the week to buy and taste and sample? Hello.
Yeah, don't just make it this week. Make it an everyday occurrence, because there are really good health benefits to enjoying goat's milk in your daily diet, and great cheeses, delicious butter, and lovely yogurt. But most importantly is thank you to the people for attending this evening, and thank you to the Academy for hosting this talk.
Pleasure. Loved my evening webinar sessions. You should be in bed, young lady. How old are you?
Me?
Yeah,
I'm 5. I'm nearly 6.
Oh, well, you can stay up a bit later then when you're nearly 6, can't you?
I'm just after karate.
Karate now at 8 o'clock.
No, a bit earlier karate wasn't it? But yeah.
And
I was going to say, are you in a different...
And then we got a bit of tablet time.
Okay.
Tablet time? Brilliant. Quids in. Tablet time because Mum's on a webinar. Love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel your joy.
I seem to have to go up now.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, we're finishing now.
Bye.
Bye. Lovely to see you. To meet you. Bye. Okay, I want to say thank you to all of you guys for carving time out of your evening to talk to our members. We've got some thanks for brilliant cheeses, loads of compliments in the chat. So thank you for everybody for joining, and hope to see you all soon, and enjoy the rest of the week. Busy week. Meet the Maker, Artisan Cheese Awards, Chiswick Cheese Market. Wow, it's cheese, everybody all round. Bye.
Lovely. Cheers.
Take care.